When a billionaire returns home, his adopted dad is left begging for food at midnight. The mansion loomed in the moonlight, a fortress of glass and steel, reflecting shadows that danced like whispered secrets. Inside, the air was thick with tension, and the pulse of the flickering lanterns flickered impatiently. It was midnight, the witching hour, and all was quiet, or so it seemed. Jasper Stone, the billionaire whose name rang through every financial district and social media feed, had just returned from his latest whirlwind trip abroad. He strode through the grand entrance, the weight of his success palpable, yet something felt off. The heavy door creaked behind him, echoing his solitude. But out in the kitchen, the scene was far from serene. There, beneath the glaring lights that felt more like interrogation lamps, sat Leon, Jasper's adopted father. The man's grizzled hands trembled as he rummaged through a nearly empty pantry. The shelves were bare, and his stomach growled louder than the howling wind outside. Leon had always been the rock of their family, yet here he was, crouched like a stray dog, begging for scraps. His cheeks hollowed and eyes sunken, giving him a ghostly appearance like a specter from Jasper's past. The sudden crash broke the silence, a shattered plate on the marble floor, slicing through the tension like a knife. Jasper whipped around, wide-eyed. What was that? A lump formed in his throat as he caught a glimpse of Leon's frail figure in the kitchen's glow, desperately hunting through a cabinet. The question hung heavy between them. Where had the father he knew gone? Where was the man who had raised him, not just in body but in spirit? Tension escalated, sharp as a blade. Jasper's thoughts raced. Was this the same household that once overflowed with laughter and warmth? Now it felt like a stage for sorrow, where shadows of the past were intertwining with the misery of the present. As he stepped closer, the intensity hit him like icy fingers gripping his heart. Leon looked up, a tear caught in the corner of his eye, and the raw desperation in his gaze made Jasper's stomach lurch. "Dad, what happened?" His voice cracked, barely above a whisper. This was not just about food. It was about survival, family, and the cruel twist that life had dealt them. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. A deafening silence followed, thick like molasses. Leon's lips barely moved. I lost everything, he murmured, the shame of his words hanging in the air like a death sentence. A dismal truth that turned Jasper's heart to ice. I thought you could help me. I thought you'd be back in time. The hope in his voice cut deeper than any knife. But the question loomed. Why had Jasper let it come to this? The walls felt as if they were closing in his stature, his wealth, and yet, here he stood, paralyzed by guilt. Was he the hero or the villain of this story? As dawn approached, the night's shadows grew darker, leaving only one burning question. What would it take to save the man who had given him everything? In a world drowning in excess, what does a man do when his father is left begging for food at midnight? Could love be enough to mend the broken pieces, or were they forever lost among the glittering facades of wealth? The silence that followed Leon's admission rippled through the vast kitchen, pressing down on Jasper like a weight he couldn't shake off. He had grown rich, powerful, and complacent, never once thinking the unthinkable could happen to him. He took an uncertain step forward, his heart racing as if it were trying to escape the chasm of sorrow that yawned between them. "Dad, how?" His voice was barely a whisper, fragile in the face of the magnitude of his father's loss. He didn't understand how things had spiraled so far out of control. What happened? Leon's eyes were filled with a vulnerability that made Jasper's chest ache. "I trusted the wrong people," he admitted, his voice shaking. "Investments, bad decisions, and the business collapsed overnight. I was too proud to ask for help, Jasper. I thought I could fix it." The confession struck Jasper harder than any physical blow. The man who had always been his anchor, who had taught him everything, had crumbled in silence while he chased his ambitions. It was a betrayal of the bond that held their family together, one he had never seen coming. I didn't know, Jasper stammered, his stomach twisting in knots. Each word felt like a sticky residue of guilt. I was so caught up in my own world. You forgot you had a father, Leon interrupted, his voice rising in pain before he quickly regained his composure. You were busy with meetings and parties while I was drowning in debt. And now he gestured to the meager pantry, where a single loaf of stale bread sat like a mockery of their former life. Now I'm begging for food. The deep, tremulous hurt in Leon's voice shattered the last of Jasper's resolve. Ashamed, he turned away, unable to meet his father's gaze. This wasn't the life they had built, and the imbalance weighed heavily on him. He paced the kitchen, restlessness pulsing through him. He knew there had to be something he could do. This wasn't just about money or making up for lost time. It was about restoring dignity. Yet, could he really fix what had been broken? He reached for his phone, scrolling through contacts, but his hands shook. What could he say? What strings could he pull? Every name on the list felt like a desperate gamble. Suddenly, the thunder of the doorbell echoed through the mansion. It sliced through the tension in the air like a dagger. Who could that be? Leon asked, glancing toward the door, worry etched across his face. I don't know, Jasper replied, his heart racing as he went to answer. As he swung open the massive door, his breath caught in his throat. Standing on the threshold was a figure he never expected to see, a former business partner, a millionaire turned millionaire villain. Jasper the man smirked, the glimmer in his eyes both sinister and seductive. I heard you were back in town. Thought we could talk about old times. Jasper's stomach lurched. This was a man whose previous betrayal had cost his father everything. Were his intentions pure, or was this just another cruel twist in a night filled with shame and despair? With Leon's hollow eyes burning into his back, Jasper took a deep breath, weighing his choices. Could this be the lifeline they desperately needed, or was it a trap waiting to ensnare them both? As he hesitated, the stakes couldn't be higher. In that moment, he knew the real battle was just beginning, and he was right at the center of it. What would happen when he decided to step into the ring again? The conflict had only begun to unfold. What secrets lay hidden in the shadows, waiting to emerge? Jasper's instincts screamed at him to slam the door. This was not the person he wanted to see, not now. But there was something in the man's slick smile that held him captive. It was a mix of arrogance and charm, the kind that could allure or betray in equal measure. Come in, he said, trying to mask his unease. The man stepped over the threshold, his polished shoes clicking against the tiled floor, each sound resonating like a bomb. Jasper could feel Leon's rise and fall breathing behind him, a reminder of the vulnerability they were both exposed to. Nice place you have here, the man remarked, scanning their surroundings. Too bad it doesn't match the grandeur of your father's legacy. He made his way around the kitchen like he owned it, his presence a living shadow smothering the room. Jasper clenched his fists, struggling against the rising tide of anger. What do you want, Richard? The name fell from his lips like venom. A smirk curled Richard's lips, and he leaned casually against the counter. I'm here to help, actually. I could make you both comfortable again. His eyes locked onto Jasper's, unflinching. I know about your father's predicament. Tough breaks can happen to anyone. I could lend you the cash to get back on your feet. Jasper felt the heat on the back of his neck. He could see his father's weary figure in his peripheral vision, the corner of his mouth twitching as if trying to fight what was clearly a losing battle. And what is the catch? Jasper shot back, knowing better than to fall for the honeyed words. Richard waved his hand dismissively. No catch. Just business, Jasper. You're smart enough to know that the old days can't just be wiped away. Let us revive your father's company. Let us reclaim the brand. You and IWD make a great team. The offer hung between them, heavy and tantalizing. Jasper's mind raced. He thought of the mansion, the wealth, the life they had enjoyed. Was this his way out, or a path deeper into hell? Why would you want to help? Leon croaked, his voice unsteady but sharp. A fire flickered to life in his father's eyes, illuminating their shared desperation. After everything you did to us? Come now, Richard purred, undeterred. We learn from our failures. I've expanded my empire beyond what you could imagine. You could be part of it. He leaned in closer, lowering his voice. Think of the influence, the money. It's your birthright, after all. Stop, Jasper yelled, a jolt of anger surging through him. My father trusted you. You destroyed our lives. The room went cold, the tension suffocating. Richard straightened, the smirk falling away. Oh, but family ties can be so fragile. Sometimes, it takes a little push to see them reformed. Those words cut deep like glass. The warning flooded over Jasper like ice water. What if this man was right? What if this monstrous deal could be their lifeline? But at what price? Leave, Jasper said, voice low and threatening. He stepped forward, feeling the heat radiate from his own body. Leave now before I call the cops. Richard chuckled, the sound empty and mocking. You think you can afford to make enemies, Jasper? This is a game you can't possibly comprehend yet. Before Jasper could respond, Richard turned sharply, striding toward the door. But just remember, I'm always watching. With a heavy thud, the door swung shut behind him, the echo resonating against the walls, leaving Jasper and Leon alone in the shadow-filled kitchen. What have we done? Leon murmured, his voice cracking, a hint of regret seeping through. Jasper felt hollow, dread pooling in his stomach. They were trapped in a mess of ambition and betrayal, and Richard had just fired the first shot. As he leaned against the door in silence, the weight of decisions flooded him. Would he sink further into the darkness, or find a way to claw back to the surface? But just then, his phone buzzed violently in his pocket. A new message. Ignoring the cold sweat trickling down his back, he pulled it out and opened the screen. It was from an unknown number, the words sending a shock to his core. Meet me at midnight. There's more at stake than you know. Jasper's breath caught, and fear gripped him. What did this stranger want, and who from his past would come calling now? Jasper's heart raced as he stared at the screen. Midnight. It felt like a countdown timer, each second heavy with anticipation and dread. He turned to Leon, who stood at the table, the lines of worry etched on his face. The gravity of their situation pressed down like a weight they couldn't shake. We can't just ignore this, Jasper said, forcing the words through a tight throat. It could be important. Or a trap, Leon replied, his voice shaky. He rubbed the back of his neck, glancing toward the window, as if expecting Richard to appear again. You don't know who this is. Jasper's mind raced. Who would even reach out to him now? His father's ugly fall from grace had left them clinging to the wreckage of their lives, haunted by the whispers of those who sought to take advantage. I have to go, he finally declared, feeling a strange mixture of urgency and recklessness surge within him. If there's a chance I can't let fear dictate this moment. Leon grabbed his arm. You're talking crazy. What if it's Richard's people? What if they want revenge for, or maybe it's someone who wants to help? Jasper interrupted, pulling away. The uncertainty in his father's eyes was suffocating. They had already lost so much. What difference could this new risk make? He slipped on his jacket and grabbed the keys to the car. The late hours of the night stretched out before him, the darkness concealing both danger and hope. Jasper, wait. Leon's voice trembled as he reached a hand out. You don't know what you're stepping into. It's a gamble we can't afford. Neither can we afford to stay here doing nothing. Jasper countered, the defiance roaring within. He knew the stakes, and in that moment of desperation, something sizzled in his gut, a flicker of courage igniting his fear. He stepped into the chill of the night. The air bit at his skin, sharp and clear. The car started, the engine's growl breaking the stillness around him. He focused on the road ahead, not wanting to think about the shadows lurking behind him. The drive pierced the somber night, streetlights casting thin lines of illumination against the pavement. Each honk of a horn and rustle of leaves heightened his senses, making him acutely aware of the world around him. Jasper's mind whirled with thoughts of who would be waiting for him and what they could offer or demand in return. Pulling up to the meeting point, an abandoned diner with cracked neon lights barely flickering to life, anxiety knotted inside him. He stepped out, the gravel crunching underfoot like whispers of the past. The figure emerged from the shadowy depths of the parking lot. Cloaked in darkness, it was hard to make out the features, but the silhouette felt familiar. As Jasper approached, the figure stepped into the light, revealing a face he hadn't seen in years. His mother. Jasper, her voice was shaky, as if the wind might whisk her away. I didn't think you'd come. Shock and confusion roiled in Jasper's stomach. Memories rushed back, a flood of images, laughter, love, the warmth of a family that no longer existed. Why now? After all these years? I'm here for you. To explain everything. But we don't have much time, she urged, glancing nervously toward the street. Richard isn't the only one looking for you. Blood ran cold in his veins. What did she mean? What was this dangerous game they were entangled in? I don't understand, he said, his voice a whisper battling against building panic. You disappeared. You can't just show up now and expect me to trust you. Her eyes burned with desperation. Because it's not just your life on the line anymore. I've been silenced, but I can't stay quiet any longer. Night choked the air around them, filled with swirling questions and trepidations. A shiver ran through Jasper, but before he could utter another word, a car roared past, casting eerie shadows across their faces. Please, we need to talk inside, his mother insisted, urgency sealing her words. Jasper hesitated, caught between the past and the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Could he unravel the truth, or would stepping deeper lead to his downfall? The moment felt too fragile, balanced on a knife's edge, as an uninvited voice echoed in his head, reminding him they were being watched, always watched. And as his pulse quickened, he couldn't shake the feeling. The game was just beginning. The scent of decay hung in the air as Jasper reluctantly stepped toward the diner, the bulbous neon sign buzzing around him like a faulty heartbeat. His mother had already vanished through the entrance, her silhouette merging with the shadows inside. He swallowed hard, his breath hitching as the door creaked open, the rusted hinges groaning like they hadn't been disturbed in years. Once inside, he noticed the dimness seeped into every crack of the tired linoleum. The flickering overhead lights barely illuminated the few scattered tables, their grimy surfaces caked with stale memories. Jasper hesitated, scanning for threats, but the space was all but empty. Just him and the lingering weight of his mother's presence. Jasper, she called softly from the back booth, urgency lacing her tone and pulling him forward like an invisible thread. He approached cautiously, gripping the edge of the booth as he slid into the vinyl seat opposite her. Her eyes, once filled with warmth, were now marred by fear and regret. You have to listen, you need to know what you're involved in. Every word out of your mouth is risky, he shot back, his stomach twisting into knots. What about Richard? What do you know? She paused, a flicker of recognition sparking across her face before it melted into sadness. More than you can imagine. I've been trying to untangle the web since the moment I left. I thought it was for your safety, but now I see that it just put you in more danger. Jasper's heartbeat thudded like a drum in his ears. Tell me everything, he commanded, forcing his voice to stay steady. If there's a chance I can fight back, I need to know who's pulling the strings. His mother looked around anxiously, her hands wringing together. There are people who want to silence us. Richard's not just a petty criminal anymore. He's deeply connected with powerful figures. He's not the one you have to worry about. It's someone else, someone who knows everything. Who? Jasper pressed, a lump forming in his throat. Someone from our past, she replied, her voice trembling. The flickering lights betrayed the uncertainty. Someone who? The screech of tires interrupted her. The sound jolted them both, a sharp, foreboding knock against the stillness of the diner. Jasper turned, heart racing, as he cautiously backed away from the booth, senses heightened. Suddenly, the front door burst open with a violent clang, casting light from the street like a spotlight on a stage. Two figures stepped inside, their features obscured by shadows, but the tension in their bodies told Jasper everything he needed to know. They were not here for a meal. Run! His mother screamed, leaping to her feet, her previous composure shattered. Jasper barely had time to react before chairs were overturned, and the world around him erupted into chaos. The men dashed toward them, urgency in their steps, and something menacing in their eyes that he grabbed his mother's arm, yanking her toward the back exit. This way, he shouted as they barreled through the aisle, adrenaline fueling their escape. The weight of each moment stretched, elongating time as they rushed toward a back door that seemed to get farther with every step. Jasper's breath came out in frantic bursts, his mind racing with fragmented fears and regrets. Where do we go? He yelled over his shoulder as the echoes of their pursuers' footsteps grew louder, drowning out the noise of their own panic. Anywhere but here, she shouted, and as they reached the door, Jasper yanked it open, the cool air hitting him like a slap. He barely had a chance to breathe before they dashed outside. The dark parking lot sprawled before them like an endless abyss. Just as they reached the edge, Echoes of angry shouts erupted behind them. "Jasper, we need a car," his mother cried, her panic blending with the urgency of their escape. He scanned the surroundings, desperate for a solution. A half-broken vehicle lay a few feet away, its chipped paint flaking under the moonlight. It might not hold together, but they had no choice. "Over there," he shouted, pulling her toward it. But as they sprinted, the world around them shifted. Shadows stretched and twisted into ominous forms, closing in like a tightening noose. Just when they thought they could escape, a terrifying realization struck him. Was someone watching from the darkness nearby? He could feel it in his bones, a powerful presence, daunting and sinister, lurking just outside the edge of his vision. The game had just begun, and the stakes were higher than ever. But what Jasper didn't know was that not all the players were enemies. Some wore friendly masks, waiting to turn the tide at the last moment. As they reached the car, the key to their survival or demise lay just within reach in ways they couldn't yet fathom. Jasper yanked the door handle, praying it would budge. To his relief, it clicked open. He and his mother jumped in, the latch slamming shut behind them as if sealing out the chaos. This beat-up car might as well have been a fortress, though Jasper had his doubts about how much it could shield them. "Start the engine," his mother urged, eyes wide with panic. "We need to get out of here, right now?" He turned the key, praying to every god he could think of. The engine coughed and sputtered before finally catching. It was barely a whisper of hope amid the thunder of footsteps approaching. "Come on," Jasper shouted as the guttural growl of the motor filled the air. He shoved it into gear and peeled out of the gravel parking lot, gravel spitting behind them like tiny shrapnel flying from a grenade. They tore down the empty, shadowy street, but Jasper's heart raced with more than the adrenaline of their escape. A nagging doubt twisted in his gut. "What did you mean about someone knowing everything?" he asked, casting sideways glances at his mother. He needed answers, not just survival. "It's complicated," she stammered, clutching her arms as though trying to hold herself together. "I thought I buried our past, but it's worse than I imagined. These people don't just erase, it's all about control." "Control? Who are they?" "They control Richard, and he controls the others." Her voice quivered. "They'll find us, Jasper. They always find those who know too much." Just as she spoke, a flash of headlights behind them illuminated the rearview mirror. Jasper's heart sank. A dark SUV was tailing them, relentless and hungry. He pressed the gas pedal, willing the pathetic car to give him speed, but it felt like swimming against the current. "Take a left," his mother cried, panic bleeding through as she pointed. "We need to lose them." He swerved sharply, tires screeching, the road narrowing into a winding alley. The blaring horns echoed, laughter and screams merging into a symphony of chaos. He could see the SUV's headlights flickering in the distance, angling closer as they sped into the labyrinth of backstreets. "Faster," she urged, her voice frayed at the edges. He cursed under his breath, even as he wrestled with the steering wheel. Every corner felt like a risk, and time slipped away. "What if they get us?" he said, not wanting to voice the fear tightening his throat. "You can't think like that." She gripped the dashboard, her knuckles white. "You have to believe we can get out of this. We have to trust each other." Trust. The word stung harshly against his skin. Was there a time his mother ever truly trusted him? The feeling of betrayal gnawed at his insides, but in the midst of crisis, it didn't matter. He had to focus that as they rounded another tight corner. A blinding light erupted in the rearview mirror, too close, too fast. Jasper squinted against it, half expecting a collision. Instead, he felt the car jolt beneath him as the SUV's bumper slammed into their rear, sending them careening. "Hang on," Jasper yelled, adrenaline pooling in his veins as he wrestled to regain control. They skidded sideways onto a deserted street, the pavement giving way to a nearby park that faded into darkness. "Stop!" his mother screamed, her voice piercing through the chaos as he fought the wheel. "We have to hide." Jasper slammed the brakes, the tires screeching in protest as they stopped abruptly. They lurched forward, the seatbelts cutting into their chests. He glanced around frantically. They were now in the heart of trees that loomed like ghostly sentinels. "Out. We need to get out," his mother urged, urging the door open as they scrambled out into the damp air, heartbeats pounding in their chests. They ran into the shadows of the park, the looming trees providing cover. But as Jasper looked back, The SUV loomed closer, parking nearby, its menacing figure blocking their only exit. "Stay low," he whispered, adrenaline racing through him. As they hunkered down, breathing ragged and harsh, the reality of the situation sank in. The silhouettes of their pursuers exited the vehicle, shadows, casting long against the dim light of the street lamps. What did they want? Who were they really? And how did they know? Jasper and his mother exchanged terrified glances as they watched the figures comb through the area. Every tense moment felt like an eternity. But just then, a sudden movement caught his eye, a man slipping through the underbrush, seemingly unnoticed. He was headed straight for them, and Jasper's breath caught in his throat. Who was this new player? Was he there to help, or to turn them in? The icy grip of uncertainty wrapped around Jasper's heart. As the man's face emerged from the darkness, Jasper's world shattered with a single word drawn from the man's lips. "Mom." The game just got more complex. Now, it was a matter of trust and survival, and everyone was a suspect. Jasper's heart pounded like a war drum. The man standing there was familiar, yet so foreign under the circumstances. "Mom?" he repeated, his voice laced with disbelief. "What?" His mother gasped, shock pulling her features tight. "You know him? I thought he was gone." The words stumbled out of Jasper's mouth, his mind racing. The man was Tom, a childhood friend and their former neighbor. Jasper had grown up with him before life twisted their paths apart. The last he knew, Tom had disappeared years ago, swallowed by whispers of danger and intrigue. Tom stepped closer, eyes darting nervously toward the SUV. "You have to follow me. Now. They can't see you here." "No," Jasper interjected, brushing Tom off with a quick shake of his head. "What do you mean they? Who are you involved with?" But the urgency in Tom's gaze gripped Jasper's gut. "It's not safe to talk here. Don't you understand? I can help you. Please." His mother's breathing quickened, sensing the rising stakes. "If you're with them, I swear I'm not with anyone." Tom snapped, an edge of frustration breaking through. "I was taken, just like you. You don't know how deep it goes. They're everywhere." Jasper felt his head spin. Trust or treachery? Without waiting for an answer, Tom turned and beckoned them deeper into the trees. Jasper hesitated, but, instinctively, he moved to his mother's side, ready to shield her from whatever may come. Heart pounding, he followed, uncertainty clinging to him like the damp air. As they slipped through the thicket, a low rumble of voices echoed from behind. His eyes darted toward the direction of the SUV, where shadows played against the glow of the headlights. The men were searching, their silhouettes weaving ominously near the parked vehicle. "Please," Tom whispered urgently as he pushed them along. "We need to be quick." With each step deeper into the trees, Jasper's mind raced through every memory of Tom. The laughter, the boyish games, the day they played in the park. But those days felt like a lifetime ago. Now, Tom was an enigma, and every second spent in his presence only heightened the fear choking Jasper. "What do you know about Richard? Who's after us?" Jasper demanded, his voice barely above a whisper. "More than you think," Tom replied, his tone grim. "Richard is the face of a much darker reality. He's the one pulling strings, and trust me, he won't stop until he finds you too." "Why are you helping us?" Jasper shot back, doubt seeping in. "What's in it for you?" "Because I owe it to your mother," Tom answered tersely, the truth hanging heavy in the air. "She tried to save me once. I won't let that debt go unpaid." His mother's eyes widened, conflict flickering over her features. Suddenly, a crack of branches echoed from behind them, shattering the air. They weren't alone. Jasper spun around, heart leaping to his throat. "Run!" he yelled, adrenaline surging as fear pumped through his veins. They dashed through the underbrush, shadows following, the sound of approaching footsteps growing louder and more menacing. Tom led the way, his familiar outline now etched in Jasper's memory, but the danger felt all too real. "Where are we going?" Jasper shouted, desperation igniting his voice. "To the old cabin," Tom replied, urgency blooming in his tone. "It might still be secure." "Secure?" Jasper scoffed, barely able to keep up. "How can anything be secure when they're after us?" "Because it was the last place they thought to look," Tom insisted, his breath mingling with the cool air as they navigated the tangled brambles. "It's not just survival anymore. It's about getting the truth out." The crunch of leaves beneath the unwelcome footsteps drew nearer, pitching them deeper into peril. Unsure of their fate, Jasper shot a glance at his mother. Her wide eyes mirrored his anxiety. Would this mysterious ally lead them to safety or draw them further into the abyss? They burst through the tree-line, the cabin coming into view, silhouetted against the moonlight. But before they reached the door, another shadow burst forth, cutting them off. A figure emerged from the dark. "I knew you'd come here," the newcomer sneered, his voice laced with malevolence. Jasper froze. Suddenly, choices loomed heavy before him. Trust Tom? Fight for their lives? The moment hung perilously, and dread gripped every fiber of his being. The stakes had never felt higher, and as the confrontation unfolded, Jasper understood this was no longer just about escaping, but uncovering the truth that had cost them everything. What secrets lay hidden within that cabin? And could they uncover them before it was too late? Jasper's mind raced as the figure stepped into the moonlight. The shadow belonged to a man who exuded confidence and menace, his dark eyes gleaming with a twisted sense of delight. "Carlos," Tom muttered under his breath, the name wrapping around them like a suffocating fog. "Nice to see you again, Tom," Carlos said, his voice smooth yet dripping with hostility. "I didn't think you'd be foolish enough to come back here." He turned his attention to Jasper and his mother, an unsettling smile creeping onto his lips. "And look at that. You brought guests. How quaint." "Get out of our way," Jasper barked, his heart hammering as he positioned himself in front of his mother, instinct kicking in. "We don't want trouble." "Oh, I think trouble's already found you," Carlos taunted, stepping closer. "Richard isn't going to tolerate any loose ends, and you two are his biggest mistakes. Leave us alone," Jasper shouted, the rising panic blurring his vision. "Why? Because the kid wants to save his mommy? That's adorable," Carlos countered, his laughter echoing through the night air, mocking their desperation. With a shove, Tom surged forward, trying to get between Jasper and Carlos. "You don't understand what you're dealing with," he yelled, his voice strained. "You don't want to go down this road." "Oh, I think I do." Carlos moved in swiftly, grabbing Tom by the collar and lifting him off his feet. The men struggled against each other, Carlos's grip tight around Tom's throat. For a split second, Jasper felt paralyzed, frozen in the face of violence. Then fear ignited his instincts. He couldn't let this happen. Gritting his teeth, he launched himself at Carlos, adrenaline meeting desperation. "Let him go," Jasper shouted. The sudden assault caught Carlos off guard. He stumbled, releasing Tom, who gasped for air while falling to the ground. They were free, but for how long? "Now you've made a mistake, kid," Carlos sneered, adjusting himself as if this were a mere game. He advanced on Jasper, fists clenched and bloodlust glimmering in his eyes. In that moment, a primal fear surged through Jasper. He dashed toward the cabin, desperate to reach safety. Tom scrambled to his feet, pulling Jasper's mother along behind him. "Inside. Now," he urged, panic sharpening his urgency. The door creaked open just as they rushed into the cabin. They slammed it shut, hearts racing, and Jasper pressed his back against the wood, listening intently. "Is he gone?" he gasped, looking at Tom, who was already peering through the grimy window. "Not yet," Tom whispered, eyes wide. "We can't let him know we're here." Jasper felt his stomach tighten as he caught sight of shadows moving outside, all too aware that danger lingered just beyond the thin walls. The moonlight cast long shadows, mimicking the fear that clawed at his chest. "What do we do now?" Jasper asked, desperate for a plan. "I know a way out through the back," Tom replied, his tone urgent. But it got to be quiet before he could finish. A loud crash echoed from outside, followed by Carlos's voice, low and menacing. "I know you're in there. This game just got interesting." Jasper's skin prickled. The threat was real, and time was running out. They were trapped, and their previous sense of safety shattered. "Do you really think a door can keep me out?" Carlos taunted, laughter filling the eerily silent woods. "You're making this way too easy." "Stay calm," Tom urged, his eyes darting around the room. "We need to move now, while we still have a chance." Jasper felt the weight of every word. They had to escape, but with Carlos lurking out there, every decision they made could lead to their end. With a nod, they quietly moved toward the back of the cabin, hearts racing at the prospect of what awaited them outside. Would freedom wait for them in the shadows, or would it lead straight back into the clutches of danger? They reached the back door, but what awaited them on the other side? The door creaked open, revealing the dark, still night outside. Jasper's pulse quickened, the fear palpable in the air. Tom edged forward, eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of Carlos. Jasper's heart raced as adrenaline surged through him. "Go," Tom hissed, pushing Jasper and his mother ahead. The moon hung low, illuminating the path, but casting ominous shadows that seemed to twist and contort, echoing their fears. They stepped into the cold night, sounds of the forest enveloping them. The crunch of twigs underfoot felt deafening, every moment stretched thin with tension. Jasper felt a lump rise in his throat, terror gripping him like a vice. "Stay close to me," Tom whispered, gripping Jasper's shoulder reassuringly. Just as they began to move away from the cabin, a voice rang out, sharp and taunting. "Oh, but the fun has just begun. You can't hide forever." Jasper froze, heart threatening to leap out of his chest. Carlos was close. They had to move. "Let us go," Tom urged, pulling them into the thick underbrush. The air was heavy with darkness, branches snagging at their clothes. Each step felt like a gamble, every sound around them could be death. But it was into the deep woods where Tom led them, and as they ran, Jasper felt the familiar aching fear of being hunted. Through the trees, he could see the glimmer of moonlight reflecting off something metallic. A hint of a clearing appeared up ahead. Jasper's mind raced. Was it a way out? Or another trap? Over there. He pointed toward the faint light, a beacon of hope shining through the darkness. They broke into the clearing, breaths quickening, and Jasper's eyes widened. It was a small wooden shed, dilapidated and weather-worn but intact. "We can hide in there," he yelled, desperation urging them on. Tom nodded and ushered them inside. The door creaked ominously as they squeezed through the opening. Once inside, the musty smell of old wood surrounded them, and a single grimy window provided a small view of the outside. "Can you see him?" Jasper asked, pressing against the window to peer out. "No, not yet," Tom whispered, heart hammering, his brow glistening with sweat. "But we can't stay here for long. What if he finds us?" Jasper's voice was trembling, dread creeping steadily into his thoughts. "He won't know we're here, not yet. We need to stay quiet." Tom's voice trailed off, tense silence filling the shed. The minutes stretched into agonizing eternity, and fear gnawed at Jasper's insides. Then, they heard it rustling leaves and soft footsteps crunching on the forest floor. Jasper's breath hitched. "Is that him?" Jasper whispered, eyes darting around. But before Tom could respond, a loud bang echoed outside, a body thudding against the shed, sending shockwaves through Jasper's heart. "Check every inch, boys." Carlos's voice boomed, sinister and sure. Jasper clutched his mother's arm, panic flooding through him. This couldn't be happening. "Not now. Stay quiet," Tom murmured again, but the urgency in his voice betrayed their fragile hope. With every heartbeat that resonated within the tiny shed, the reality of their situation crashed down around them. Just one word from Carlos would expose them, and Jasper had seen enough horror to know they might not survive this night. But then Carlos's voice lowered, conspiratorial, chilling. "Are you hiding, Jasper? I do hope you're not counting on the darkness to protect you." The weight of those words sank into Jasper's chest like ice. "Do you think you can outsmart a man like me?" No, that couldn't be. They were running out of options, and quick. Tom glanced at Jasper, eyes burning with determination. "We have to make a break for it." What were they going to do? As the door rattled with a new urgency, Jasper's heart raced. Was it time to take a leap of faith into the unknown? The sound of footsteps grew louder, and panic washed over him. Would they stand their ground, or would they risk it all? The decision loomed heavy in the air as they waited for Carlos to make his next move. Would they be trapped here forever, or was the answer just a breath away? In that moment of chilling uncertainty, the world outside felt as dangerous as ever. The inside of the shed felt like a coffin, every creak of wood whispering despair. Jasper held his breath, trying to quiet the panic that threatened to consume him and his mother. The dread coiling in his stomach was a familiar weight he couldn't shake off, but this felt different. Carlos's voice dripped with malice, his every breath a threat. "Just give me a sign," he taunted, menace dripping from his tone. "You can't hide forever." Jasper's heart raced, his mind raced faster. They needed a plan, and they needed it now. Tom, what do we do? He whispered, desperation lacing his voice. Tom clenched his fists, his resolve firm. We have to move. If he gets in here, we one team make it. Are you crazy? Jasper shot back, panic rising. Yes, right outside. Listen, Tom said, urgency flashing in his eyes. We can't wait for him to find us. If we wait, we're dead. Remember where we parked? If we can make it back to the road, we can what? Run to the nearest cop? Jasper interjected with frustration bubbling within him. With nowhere to go? We can't risk getting into the open. No more words could flow. The tension became a tangible force, pressing them down. Then the door rattled again, but this time it held a force. Jasper's breath quickened, and fear turned into adrenaline. He couldn't take it anymore. Let us try the back right now, he said, whispering fiercely, moving towards the worn wooden wall. They had to act quickly. There was no time to waste on hesitation. Tom nodded, and they crept backward toward a corner where decay had rendered the wood weak. With determination, he pressed against it, half silently pleading, come on, as he felt the wooden frame crumble slightly under his push. They needed to bring their escape to life. Now, he hissed through gritted teeth. They threw their weight against the wall, and with a loud creak, it gave way, allowing them to break free into the shadowy expanse of the woods beyond. The fresh air rushed at them as they exited, but tears stung Jasper's eyes. What awaited him outside could be perilous. They tumbled into the embrace of darkness, running along the path they had once come, dodging trees and branches slicing in the night. Heart pounding, he charged forward, guided by the distant flicker of moonlit signs. This way, he shouted to Tom and his mom, pushing deeper into the unfamiliar territory, desperation alight in his chest. The sound of footsteps snapped closer behind them, and the chase felt more real than ever. Faster, Tom urged, gripping Jasper's arm as they warped through the forest, the ground firm beneath their feet despite the uncertainty haunting them like shadows. They spotted a rickety old fence at the edge of the woods, a tangible boundary that felt like freedom. Jasper reached for the splintered wood, scrambling over it just as the threatening sounds started to rise behind them. A disturbing energy crackled in the air. Beyond the fence stood an empty road. Concrete stretched towards the horizon, reflecting glimmers of moonlight. It felt like hope, like salvation. Run to the road, Jasper yelled, pushing himself and his mother forward, adrenaline driving their frantic sprint. But as the three of them reached the edge of the pavement, Jasper's heart sank. The sirens shrieked through the night, the red and blue lights flashing. A rescue, or another trap. Jasper's instincts screamed to keep moving, to escape, but just as he lifted a foot to charge out onto the road, a familiar, frightening voice pierced the air. Where do you think you're going? It was Carlos, looming like a dark cloud. The chilling tone made Jasper's blood freeze. In that moment, he could feel time slow as disbelief washed over him. Your little game ends here. The weight of every wrong turn crashed down on him. He felt compelled to flee, but his legs wouldn't move. Tom stepped forward and grasped Jasper's shoulder tightly, determination turning his eyes into stony pools. Don't listen to him, he urged. We can't let them win. Before Jasper could take a breath to respond, the screeching stops of vehicles echoed behind Carlos. Sheriff's deputies emerged from the patrol cars, uniforms crisp in the night air. Confusion twisted with hope surged through Jasper's core. Carlos, step away from them, barked one officer, positioning himself between Jasper's group and Carlos. He reached for that unexpected glimmer of safety. Those words shot into the air. Freedom had come to the threshold in a way he didn't see coming. Jasper, Carlos sneered, you can't trust them. They want to save you from what you can't even understand. Shut up, Tom shouted, the fierceness in his voice breaking through the haze of fear with blazing clarity. Jasper felt breath escape his lungs as the police moved forward, finally ready to reclaim order. Yet, even in the presence of authority, trust still felt frayed. Tell them everything, Jasper, Tom urged, leaning forward, the unyielding determination in his voice kindling fire in Jasper's soul. Every eye focused on him, the law, his past, the threat. He steadied his resolve, fighting back tears. No more running, he said, the words solidifying in his heart. I won't let fear drown me anymore. We'll stand together. The world shifted, the danger still loomed. Carlos still resembled a snake slithering nearby, but now there was power in unity. "I need to step out of the shadows," Jasper declared, "and bring the truth to light." And with that, he stepped forward, embracing a future forged from fire and resilience. Together, with his mother, Tom, and newfound allies, Jasper prepared to face whatever came next. Those who sought to silence them would learn that some things are worth fighting for: family, truth, and courage that transcends chaos. Now it was time to reclaim their lives, to turn the tables against the enemies lurking in the dark. Because the stakes had never been higher, and standing united was their only path forward. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next chapter of this thrilling series. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. What do you think is next for Jasper and his family? And please, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this conclusion. Let us make sure no one misses out on what is coming up next.